Hey everybody, today I'm talking about Blitzkrieg, which is a strictly two-player board game designed by Paolo Mori. This one came out in 2019, and as you can see from the tagline here, this says it's World War II in 20 minutes, and I will say that 20 minutes is very accurate, so this is a quick and simple game based on World War II. So the board is going to look like this. Not the best looking of boards, but you've got these 5 different kind of theatres of war. You've got Western Europe, the Pacific Ocean, Eastern Europe, Africa and the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Now this is a tug of war style game where you're trying to dominate each of these theatres by dragging this piece to your side and getting victory points, or these war victory points, because the first player to reach 25 is going to be the winner. An alternative way to win is to stop your opponents from being able to play anything at all. So the game is very simple mechanically, where each player is going to start with 3 of these tokens drawn randomly from their bag. So of course one player is going to play the Axes, one person is going to play the Allies. Each have drawn 3 of these secretly. Normally you would put them behind one of these screens, but just for demonstration purposes I've ignored that. You've got these bunch of upgrade tiles here, which are face down and randomized. And then turns are going to play out in player order by placing one of these tokens onto the board. So as you can see here, each of these different regions is divided into these different campaigns, which are these horizontal rows of these square kind of placement areas. Also further divided into different colours. You've got the blue ones and you've got these reddy ones here. So the blue ones represents the sea and these ones represent the land. These kind of half and half ones means that you can play both of those. And what that means is that you can only play your kind of land units on the land areas and of course the sea units on the sea areas. So for the ships, for example. And that's going to be how the game's going to play out. So you're going to choose one of your tokens and you're going to put it on any of these active campaigns. And bearing in mind, you can only play from the top down. So you cannot play on the second row until the first row is resolved. So let's say, for example, this player places 1 on here like so. So the 3 here determines how many spaces it moves in your favour. So of course this will be the German players that go 1, 2, 3 in that area. But also there's almost always a bonus corresponding to that spot. So if I put this one here, again it's got a +1, which boosts that by a further 1 like so. And then that player will end their turn by drawing up a new tile from their bag and replenishing their stock here. There's also these aeroplane symbols here, which can go anywhere, so they are pretty much wilds. And when you play them, again, the same rules apply. Let's say I play on this one here. Although this one's worth 0, whenever you get this lightning bolt symbol, it means that you can play an additional one from your hand or from your supply, like so. And of course, this one would take it 2 places in that player's favour. Now, let's have a look at what some of these other placement spots do. So whenever you have this kind of warehouse symbol here, it means that you can draw another tile from your bag to increase your supply and increase your options. You've got these ones here, which correspond to these upgrade tiles where you'll pick one at random and put it into your bag. And these do lots of really cool things, such as having these really powerful tokens here that don't give you the upgrade, but of course will pull it in your direction by quite a bit. You've got these ones with the bombing symbol here, which means that you pick one of your opponent's tiles at random and put it back into the bag, which will not only also get rid of that tile from the supply, but it'll also limit their options going forward because they'll have fewer tiles to choose from. You've got these quite unique ones here, like the spy, which lets you kind of copy the last token that somebody else played and duplicate their action. You've got this spy one here, or this kind of scientist one, where you can place anywhere on the board, even if it's not an active campaign, and get that bonus corresponding to it. And you even have really weird ones, such as this nuclear bomb here, which means that you go 7 up on the track, but you lose 2 in all the other tracks. So yeah, these are really powerful, but I like the fact they go straight into your bag and they're not at your disposal straight away. But there are some spots that let you get around that. So let's have a look at some of the other spots here. So you've got this one here with the shield symbol, which means that you simply go up the victory track that many spaces. You've got the ones that let you draw 2 of the upgrade tiles. You've got these ones with the numbers and the arrows, which means when you place there, you go up one of another track. That one there lets you take one of these upgrade tokens and put it straight in your supply. And that's pretty much what all they do. Whenever one of these campaigns is completed, then a number of war victory points is going to be distributed. So for example, let's say this player plays this token here. They would move up their token 1 space, like so. And then you would calculate where the little red marker is on that track. So again, this player's played at 2. This one's moved it back 1, meaning that the red marker is on this side of the table. And therefore, that player would gain as many victory points depending on that campaign here. So, for example here, 2 victory points, meaning that it would go up 2 on the track. And then the new campaign is available to be played in, offering more and more victory points and more kind of options to get those bonuses. That's pretty much how the game is going to play out until somebody wins, or again, until somebody cannot play a tile because they've been bombed too many times. So as you can see from the run through there, this is a really simple game. Just drawing tiles from the bag, placing it on one of these locations, trying to pull the pin in your direction. Now, despite that, there is quite a lot to think about here because, of course, there are so many different things to fight over. You've got to know when to let things slip, when you're going to play things to the most advantage, because not only do you want to use the token where they're most efficient, but also get the benefit from the bonus below it as well. And you've also got these tokens such as these generals and these kind of nautical commanders, meaning that when you place them, they actually boost that spot by a number of spaces, again, by what you've already played there. So playing things at the right time is quite important, but of course you are always subject or limited to the tokens available in your supply at any time. So there's quite a good degree of randomness, but still use within those kind of confines that you find yourself in, because if you had the full array of your tokens to deploy at any time, I think this would actually take away from the game and would be a detriment to it, rather than just having those limited options there. So it's about knowing when to play your blitz tokens here to try and close off the theatres when you're winning them and trying to get those victory points. And it's pretty good fun. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of weighing things up what to do, investing in these different powers, which will go into your bag and hopefully come up and play dividends later. It's so easy to explain and it's certainly digestible in terms of teaching this to next to anybody. However, it does still have some depth here, and even more kind of saltier, more experienced gamers are going to get a lot out of a game like this. And because there is more to it than meets the eye, and certainly more going on behind the scenes that might not become apparent straight away. Of course, knowing when to play these tokens is good, or knowing when to capitalise on these different bonuses. And despite the wide array of different things here, they're all very easy to understand, and you can teach this one in probably 5 minutes or so. Additionally, if you really do want to ramp up the complexity, you can play on the other side of the board, where you play with the Nippon expansion. And I suppose that's an expansion in name only, where the actual game comes with that extra module or a ramped up complexity, where, as you can see, there's a lot more different locations here, and you're going to start in the basic ones, or these starting areas like Seattle and Boston. However, when you finish that campaign, as you would normally, you go on to one of the neighbouring campaigns and take this much momentum with you to start that campaign. So it has that more of a cascading effect, and it kind of spreads as you go on, for just, again, ramped up complexity and a different layer to the game, and certainly an extra level of strategy and tactical play. Now, the game also does come with a bunch of different tokens. So not only have you got the Axis and the Allies, you've also got the Nippons as well. And there is a little bit of a silliness in there as well, because you get like a Godzilla token and stuff like that. But it's more of the same stuff, but I do like the fact that it's well balanced, it's simple, and you've got these two options, whether you want to play the basic version, which anybody can understand, or this extra kind of 25% to play this slightly more advanced version. I love how the game plays in 20 minutes. The game does advertise that it's World War II in 20 minutes, and it certainly does achieve it in that amount of time. And, even from then on, the actual uptime is really strong as well, because, again, you're simply just smashing a token down, getting the bonus and moving up that track. And it certainly doesn't get bogged down in analysis paralysis, which I know a lot of two-player games do, because they are so head-to-head, you can pretty much min-max your turns. In this one, you've got your limited abilities, your limited pool here. You can invest in expanding that pool by going into these different spots, but you are still limited nonetheless. So I do like the way that you are kept on track, you are kept somewhat tunnel-visioned, but you do have a few options at your disposal, and you got to know how to optimally play these, but in the same vein, not knowing what your opponent can counteract you with. The production is absolutely fine. I mean, all the tokens are pretty much decent in terms of their quality. They're very simple in what they do. I quite like the minimalistic art style. They certainly haven't overdone it, and they haven't put too much on each of these tiles considering they are quite small. It's very simple and straight to the point production. I think the board itself looks a little bit bland. It looks a little bit kind of regimented, but I don't mind it. But again, I think it could have done with a bit more zhuzhing up and a bit more vibrancy. But still, I think I'm nitpicking there. I don't mind the way the game looks. And I suppose it's a bit spreadsheet-like in terms of its aesthetic appeal, but that doesn't bother me too much. The bags themselves are decent. You know, these are going to hold up all right. And you can't see in the bag when you're drawing things out. Maybe if you've got big hands like me, they're not quite big enough, but very minor complaint there. The screens themselves are a little bit flimsy. Would have been nice to see them a little bit more robust. But again, nitpicking, this is pretty affordable as a game, and the production is certainly up to scratch. So overall, I think Blitzkrieg is quite a nice, versatile two-player game. You can play this with quite a wide array of different gamers. You know, you can certainly teach this one to a non-gamer and they can still compete with you and have a good time. But at the same time, there are some certain kind of nuances and different things going on where kind of more experienced gamers are going to appreciate as well. So I do like how versatile this game is. You can play it with a lot of different people. It's got a nice fun factor and a certain kind of relaxed breeziness to it where you're just drawing tiles from the bag, pushing them on, but it still does have that tension, that back and forth tug of war of trying to pull these things in your direction, knowing when to call it quits and to give up on certain campaigns. I think that's probably the key to victory here. I do like the added replayability, again, to play that Nippon expansion and to try this side of the board, just to inject more life into the game. And I think this is certainly a quality two-player game, and I know fans of the game do really kind of advocate this one, and I can see why. You know, it's got a lot of fun to it, it's got some good things going on, and it's certainly got that kind of compelling bag building system, or that bag drawing system at least, where you always kind of anticipate what you're going to do next and what you're going to do to the best advantage. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I'm certainly looking forward to playing it more and seeing if there is kind of even more layers here and more things to discover and how to be good at this game, because I feel I am slightly kind of scratching the surface here despite it being a relatively simple game. So that concludes my thoughts on Blitzkrieg, a nice breezy two-player game with some depth. And if you like the World War theme, this is one you can get done in 20 minutes as the box advertises. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you found it useful or at least somewhat entertaining, then please hit like and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Additionally, if you wish to support the show, because I am a one-man operation and I don't get any support from publishers, then please consider backing on Patreon at patreon.com/chairman of the board, where you can back for as little as £2 per month. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.